What is up YouTube, Noezone here, and today I'm going to be telling you what I think of the newest and last film in the DCEU, The Flash. It is directed by Andy Muschietti, written by Christina Hodson, and stars Ezra Miller, Sasha Calle, and Michael Keaton. And in this movie, Barry Allen uses his super speed to change the past, but his attempt to save his family creates a world without superheroes, forcing him to race for his life in order to save the future. But that's basically the rundown of the synopsis before I get into what I think of the film, and this will also be a spoiler-free review. But starting out, I want to talk about the story. And overall, I think that this was a decent adaptation of Flashpoint. I feel like it hit all of the emotional beats that it was supposed to for me, especially when it comes to Barry's moments that he has with his mom, which made me cry, by the way. And the story had a good message for Barry to learn, even though it's a little too similar to what we've seen before on CW's The Flash. I also really liked how similar some aspects of the plot were to Back to the Future, because that's one of my favorite movies of all time, to the point where it even gets directly referenced, which is pretty cool. But where the story really failed for me was with its super rushed main villain, which was a super big disappointment because that's one of the best parts of the OG Flashpoint storyline. And I also did not like the ending of the movie because it just felt so odd and out of place. But next I want to talk about the acting and characters. And Ezra Miller did alright with their performance as the Flash, but they overacted severely at times, which constantly reminded me of the reasons why I never really liked them as the Flash in the first place. But I will say that they did a pretty good job at playing two Barrys and making them two different characters. And they brought their A game to the emotional scenes. Sasha Calle was an absolute standout as Supergirl, and I really hope DC decides to keep her for the Woman of Tomorrow movie. I loved Michael Keaton's return as Batman, and he gets so many cool moments, but I also felt like they could have done more with his character and other aspects of the film. Getting to see Batfleck back in action was so awesome, and all of his scenes prove once again that he could have been my definitive live-action Batman, so screw Josh Whedon and WB for making him not want to play the character anymore and wasting his great potential. Also, seeing a lived-in DCEU was super nice to see after all this time, but it just sucks that it took this long to get there. But next, I want to talk about the direction and visuals, and the cinematography was really solid in this movie, especially all of the creative choices Andy Muschietti made to showcase Barry's different abilities, and the way he shot all of the Batman action scenes, which makes me even more excited that he's going to be directing the upcoming Brave and the Bold movie. The horrible CGI moments in this film made me check out of my viewing experience way too much. Like, they had to have known that the CGI was this bad when it makes some of MCU's Phase 4 projects look like visual masterpieces. And I'm very disappointed as a fan who had to wait through all these delays for this movie to get released, and this was the final product's visuals. But it specifically gets bad in a sequence where they show off a few cameos, which I think most of them were done in pretty bad taste, if I'm being honest. And I feel extremely confident with saying that CW's Crisis on Infinite Earths event did it much better. But next, I want to talk about the sound design. And I think that all of the scores were pretty well done, especially in Barry's super speed and Speed Force scenes. And you could tell that there was a lot of influence from the Back to the Future score as well, which, like I said earlier, is a big plus in my book. And you already know that absolute bangers were playing every time Michael Keaton's Batman was on screen. And to talk about like the actual sound design and effects themselves, I really liked how all of the super speed sounded when Barry was running, because it felt like he was moving really fast, even just through the movie theater speakers. But other than that, the sound design was kind of run of the mill, to be honest. But next, I want to talk about the pacing. In the first act's pacing was okay, but it also took a while for the movie to find its footing during it. But once it got going, I didn't really notice anything else. Then the second act had all of the best parts of the movie and was paced very well, in my opinion. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed it and wish the whole movie was like this. Then the third act's pacing got a little weird, and then the film mostly goes off the rails during it, which again is a shame because I expected that a Flashpoint adaptation would have an amazing third act. But next, I want to talk about the emotional value. And like I said earlier, this film did make me cry once towards the end, which I was not expecting at all. And that moment literally made me want to go give my mom a hug as soon as I left the movie theater, so I gotta give this film some huge points in that area for that alone. But next, I want to talk about the entertainment value. And I know from some of the stuff that I said earlier that it sounds like I don't like the movie, but I just want to say here that I did leave the theater pretty entertained. I thought all of the action was dope, most of the humor landed for me, and as someone who's a bigger DC fan than a Marvel fan, there are just some really satisfying DC moments in this film that made me really happy at the end of the day. But now to get to my overall thoughts on The Flash. And it's a pretty good DC comic book movie, but it was definitely overhyped by the early reaction reviews. It has a great cast of characters with Ezra Miller doing alright as the Flash, Sasha Calle being an absolute standout as Supergirl, and Michael Keaton still killing it as Batman despite his old age. It has really good action scenes, especially when Batman is fighting. It has really hard-hitting emotional scenes when it needs to, and those moments made me want to go give my mom a hug as soon as I walked out of the theater. But this film really gets held back for me from being a great DC comic book movie. It's really bad CGI, cheap nostalgia, rushed villain, and odd ending. Also, the post-credit scene absolutely sucks. But all of that leads to my overall scoring of The Flash, where I gave the story a 4.5 out of 5, the acting a 4 out of 5, the characters a 5 out of 5, the direction a 4 out of 5, the visuals a 1 out of 5, the sound a 3 out of 5, the pacing a 4 out of 5, the emotional value a 4.5 out of 5, the entertainment value a 4 out of 5, a casual score of 3 out of of 5, and all of that rounds out to about 37 out of 50 points, which gives me my final score of The Flash, 3.5 out of 5 stars. And overall, I would still give this movie a recommendation to most people, but I don't think it's the must-see movie that the early reactions were hyping it up to be. Anyways, if you enjoyed my review, make sure you leave a like on the video. It really helps out the channel a lot. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for more content like this. Make sure you share the video with a friend if you think they would enjoy it as well. Leave a comment with your thoughts on The Flash. Don't forget to follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Noezone. And as always, guys, it's been Noezone. Peace.